Welcome to the Ad Men Podcast. I'm your resident madman, Chris, and my right-hand ad man is not here. If you looked at our last episode, listened to it, right there we said in the title, life happens, and it's happening again. We weren't able to link up and get our schedules in order to record our normal conversational podcast. So today we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to have not really a conversation because me talking to myself would be a little weird. So we're going to dive into something that is going to be a little bit more, let's say, actionable for you. Something that's going to, when you're done listening, you can go back, look at your marketing and advertising, and maybe make some changes, maybe do some different things, maybe look at how you've been doing things, and maybe improve. So, the big thing that I run into when I'm talking to clients about marketing is something called marketing efficiency. Now, normally people, when they hear the word efficiency, they're thinking, oh, let's get the best bang for our buck. Let's spend less and get more. And when it comes to marketing efficiency, that's not really what we're looking for. Uh, I know we're using the same language here, but marketing efficiency is different. Marketing efficiency isn't so much about spending less and getting more, but diversifying and finding the right levels to spend, not lowering your ad budget, keeping it high as you can. For reference, when we talk to our clients and we're figuring out what their advertising budget should be, 10 to 15% of your revenue should be going towards advertising. And you can plug that however you want, whether it's 10 to 15% of your revenues going towards uh, staff, ad budgets, these different things, or towards uh, what are those things called? Yep, I'm doing it again. Uh, Going towards retainers for advertising companies and figuring out what they're going to do. However you want to break it down, 10% to 15% of your revenue should be going towards advertising if you want to continue to grow. Because at the end of the year, what the hope is, with the growth that you've had, that 10 to 15% is actually a lower percentage than what you made that year. Uh, that's the long and short of figuring out your ad budget. But back to marketing efficiency, and of course, life is happening again with the phone ringing and everybody being able to hear it. That's where we live in marketing advertising. Our phones are constantly going, we're getting notifications, we're getting phone calls. That's just how it goes. Back on track now. When I talk about marketing efficiency, uh, the most efficient way to spend your money, if you're talking about classic efficiency, most bang for your buck, is going to be social media advertising. You can even not spend money on you know, ads on Facebook or Instagram and get great reach. So the investment is very small. But if you're going to be running ads on those things, it's important to make sure you're looking at your metrics and finding what we call the butter zone. Now, there's a lot of places that talk about the butter zone, but for me, the butter zone is we're spending the amount right up until we get to the point of diminishing returns. Now, the point of diminishing returns, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but there's a certain point at which putting more effort or putting more money into something is not getting you additional returns. So, for example, if you're running ads on Facebook and you have an ad budget of $1,000 a month, let's just throw that out there, and you're reaching, let's say, even number, 10,000 people a month for that $1,000 budget. I know that's low. That's not really the numbers that you get. But for this exercise, we're just using that nice round number. So $1,000, 10,000 people reached. Then you jump it up to $2,000. And your unique reach, which is what we want to talk about here. Not total reach, because you're going to be reaching out to the same people multiple times. But unique reach is the number that we're looking for. So if you go to $2,000 and now you're reaching 12,000, well, you've gone past the point of diminishing returns because you've maxed out the unique reach that you're going to get for that budget. And what you have to do then is you have to whittle it down until you get back to closer to that $1,000 budget that you had before, but adding enough that you're going to get that extra 200 or 2,000 unique reach that you were looking at when you had that $2,000 budget. And you're probably going to end up spending, let's just again make it a round number, $1,200 to reach 12,000 people. So when you're looking at the efficiency, if you just jump up to $2,000 a month and you say, great, we're reaching 12,000 people now, but you don't adjust and you don't figure out what your butter zone is, you're looking at wasting $800 a month or about $9,600 a year on, well, nothing. It's not adding anything. The important thing to do in that situation is to find your butter zone and then diversify. Take control of one platform, take control of one system, one place where you're going to dominate, and then you diversify. And DDT, or actually it's DTD. Dominate, test, diversify. Actually, it should be DAD, DAD. Dominate, analyze, diversify. I like my anagrams. Sue me. The thing is, too many people, especially in my industry, the marketing advertising industry, like to pigeonhole themselves and put themselves into one spot, put themselves into, we only do social media advertising. That's the best thing you can do. We only do billboard advertising. That's the best thing you can do. We only do TV advertising. That's the best thing you can do. When in reality, the best thing you can do is to hit every single thing. Now, obviously, not all budgets can do that, but finding the butter zone in one and dominating that particular platform, analyzing all your data, making sure you are spending the right amount, and then diversifying and finding other places to spend that money. So for instance, if you have a $10,000 a month budget, we start by equally spending across 5 different platforms. Let's say we've got social, we've got Google ads, we've got radio, we've got TV, and we've got streaming ads. Let's say we've split it off between all 5. We look at the metrics, we look at how we're doing return on those investments. And we look at how much it costs per thing. And then we start to adjust from there. After first 2 months, you say, okay, we're getting the amount that we're spending on streaming is got a higher return on investment than these other things. Then let's say the radio ads. So then we say, okay, let's take a portion of the radio ads and throw it into the budget for streaming and see what difference it makes. And then you go into the next month, radio had the same ROI as it did the previous 2 months. Well, now we're looking at, okay, this thing, we're past the law of diminishing returns. Let's keep adjusting this one and putting it somewhere else. And then we see that streaming continued to have a high ROI. So we say, all right, great, let's take some more of the radio, put it into streaming. And at the same time, we saw that the TV ROI wasn't quite right where we wanted it to be. So you take a little piece out of that and you say, let's throw it into Google Ads. All in all, to say, when it comes to your marketing budget and how you're spending your money, you need to always be adjusting, always be analyzing, always be looking into things, always be checking out what's next. What are we paying for this ROI? Can this ROI go higher? Can we continue to scale that ROI with additional budget? Do these other things, does the ROI, how much we're bringing in go down if we lower the budget? Sometimes you get lucky and you find the butter zone for all 5 or however many advertising accounts that you're running through pretty quickly, and you roll with it. Now, when you start getting, growing and you start getting more advertising budget because your revenue's going up, that's when you got to start really tinkering. Because if each one is in the butter zone and you throw some more money into it and you're not seeing really any difference, well, that money's got to go somewhere. And now we're looking at going through tertiary types of marketing. Maybe you run a direct mail campaign. Maybe you start running some display ads on YouTube. Maybe we start running some billboards. Who knows? But the point is continuing to find, and I know I keep repeating myself, but it's important, continuing to have efficiency in your marketing, not in the classical sense of spend less, get more, but making sure you're optimized for what your budgets are and optimizing everything that you're doing. That's how you get to the marketing efficiency that you need. So this didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. But let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Let's talk about the last episode. Let's talk about how late this episode is. We took a week off and we're coming back on the next Wednesday. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't something that we wanted to do. This is how our lives go. We get busy. A client needs help. We have a big project. We have families. We need to take care of them too. This isn't, this is real life. And the last episode wasn't our greatest work, I'll admit. I started off a little weird and I thought it was going to hit. It obviously didn't. My partner in crime, my right-hand ad man, Omri, you didn't see him on the pod because the logo was there. but that's because he was the only time he had to record was doing some things with his family, going and doing what he had to do for his wife. But we still published it. Why? Because this show is all about process. We want to give you behind the scenes into the real of what advertising and marketing is, what being a business owner really is. And you go back and listen to that episode and you're going to say, I mean, they didn't have it. Well, you don't always have it. You don't always win. Not every campaign that you run in marketing and advertising is going to be a hit. Not every video you do is going to go viral. And not every thing that goes viral is for the right reasons. Life, business, marketing, and advertising are full of wins and losses. What's important is to remember the lessons that you learned from the losses or the ones that didn't go so well. And then take the wins and run with them. Yeah. Be thankful for the wins and learn from your losses. This podcast is a little bit of everything for us. We use it for getting our message out. We use it for making some jokes, having some fun. We use it for teaching. We use it for therapy. There's more to this show than what I think we've shown so far. We don't want to be the show that you go to listen to for the 5 tips to learn this. 5 tips to increase your business by 20% in 1 year. Here's how I made my first $1 million. You can do it too. We don't want to be that. We want to be a show that takes you behind the scenes and shows you the real life of what we're doing. Because I think it's important. There's a weird thing with business people and advertising firms. The perception from the public, really. You think of an advertising firm, and I use the term madman because of the show Mad Men. It's relatable. And although that show did show a little bit, it was very dramatized. It's not really, making all these big presentations and, going out drinking and smoking and doing all these things. This is, at least for the owners of these places, there's a lot of pressure. Not just the pressure of keeping the business open and taking care of your family, because that's what this is. We're running these businesses to take care of our families and help us become the person that we want to be where we want to be financially, do those different things. But when you're the owner, you're also responsible for the people that work for you. You're also responsible for the people that are your clients, because you have to remember every business owner is doing this for their family and doing it for themselves. And if they trust you with their advertising budget, that means they're trusting you to help them take care of their family. Really, there's so many layers. And as much as we want to just sit, talk, joke around, make this fun, make this funny, make you laugh, there's real life aspects to what we're doing, and I think it's important to express that. Again, my partner on the show isn't here today. and this episode was a week late. That's going to happen. We're not professional podcasters. This isn't our job. Our job is to take care of our clients and take care of our families. And even though we want to do this on a weekly basis, sometimes we can't. I'm sure Omri will be doing a solo pod one of these days too, because I don't have the time. I can't get in. I got to take care of the family. I've got to take care of a client. And that's okay. I'm saying all this to say we're going to be real on this podcast. We're going to let people know what's really happening and what's really affecting us in business and personally too, a little bit. I mean, these are our businesses. Everything is a little bit personal. It's the long and short of that. So if you want to continue to see our progress as people, as business owners, follow our stories, stay in line with what's happening with us, get a behind the scenes look, have some conversations. We welcome you to keep listening. We'd love to have you listen. We'd love to have you share. There is a lot that we want to get to. And yeah, we will have some informative episodes where we talk about current trends in marketing or things like WordPress versus custom websites. I do have stories on that. And maybe I'll get to it today quickly. But we're going to have guests on. We're working on getting some guests on to tell their story about how they came into business, how they run their advertising and marketing, what they do. And some of them have worked with us, some of them won't have worked with us, and just see what happens. We want this to be a conversation. We want this to be real. We don't want it to be scripted, and we don't want to hide anything, even our not so great work. We have a standard. We do, believe it or not. But even if an episode doesn't live up to that standard, we're going to post it. Why? Because it's real and it's part of the process. We're doing this so that in 5 years we go back and listen to some of these episodes and we say, I remember what we were doing with that one. That was not great, but it led us to something further. I know I've been talking a lot, but it's only me. So sorry, not sorry. You're stuck with me for another, I don't know how long. I'm not quite done talking yet. I always have something to say. And you know what? I think I will talk a little bit about like a website builder versus getting a custom website. We had a situation here where we had many situations actually where we've had clients that had WordPress or Wix or Squarespace or X, Y, or Z builder come to us and they say, we're sick of this thing. We need something better. And we do custom websites. That's what we do here. We do custom websites, custom coded, do all the stuff, do all the code. It's better. It really is. There is so much more control. There is so much better optimization. I mean, I can't even tell you it would take more than one episode to go over all the benefits of having a custom website versus a builder website. Least of all, hacking. If you have an admin panel, you can get hacked. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter how secure you are, there are password hackers. They will get in and they will change your website to be going to a Chinese Viagra website, which happened to a new client of ours, which they came on, we quickly unhacked them, made a custom website for them in record time, not gonna lie, and put that up live, and now they're safe. They're secure. They don't have any issues. There's nothing for hackers to hack into. There's no admin panel for them to get into, and everything is on secure servers. But I tell you that because sometimes we have clients that want to go backwards. We create a custom website for them. And a few years later, they say, actually, you know what? We'd like to have a WordPress or a Squarespace or a Wix site. Why? Oh, because we don't want to pay for your retainer to have you make all the updates. We don't want to have you be in control of all the code of the website. We want to be able to do things ourselves. That's all well and good. But it's like driving a Bentley and then saying, you know what? I think I want a Kia Sorento instead. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why anyone would do that. Because here's what happens. We say, okay, fine. You can have your WordPress site. You can have your Wix site. You can have your Squarespace site. You do what's best for you, you believe. Within 6 months of that website being done and them being in control, updates stop. Nobody's working on it. Nobody's doing anything. They run into an issue. And what do? They call us and say, hey, we broke our website. Can you fix it? And a lot of times we can't because we've been doing this for over 12 years. We know what we're doing. We know the common problems. We know how to fix what you broke. And then they start calling us, say, hey, can you update this? Hourly, please. Can you do this update? Oh, hey, can you change this? Hey, do you know why we're not ranking as well? Hey, this thing happened. Can you fix this? You know, this isn't looking right. Can you go in there and, you know, work your magic? Or worst case scenario, hey, we got hacked. We don't know how to get out of this. We don't know how to fix this. Can you do something? I don't get it. I just don't. I don't get why somebody in business would decide, I want less security. I want to drive a Kia Sorento instead of a Bentley. You know what? We won't even go to Bentley instead of a Mercedes. Okay? Mercedes or Kia Sorento. You ask me, I'm going to pick the Mercedes every time. That's what's going to happen. But for some people, they just can't get out of their own way and not be in control. And the problem with when you're in control of everything, it's now your responsibility. And when it's your responsibility, all of a sudden it doesn't seem as fun. And that's how it goes. And not for nothing too. When they call and they say, we want to pay you hourly to run these updates, run these things, you know, help us out with this, it ends up costing them more than the retainer that they originally had. And usually by the time that they say, hey, we'd like to go on a retainer and have you run the updates, you know, with this new site that we had you create so that we could make changes ourselves and manage it ourselves, our prices have changed. And now that retainer, 25, 50, 100% more than what you were originally paying. And I said, well, why can't we go back to the original contract? Because you ended it. I didn't ask you to end it. I warned you when you ended it that this could happen. If you came back, prices would be increased. And I've lost clients because of that. But you know what? If you don't trust me enough to continue with your retainer, then there's a disconnect there. And if there's a disconnect and you don't want to work with us anymore, that's okay. But if you want to come back and we charge you some more, you should be expecting it. Sorry. Prices change. There's inflation. You know, workers cost more money. There's so many things that change over the years that when you go from one contract to the next, they're never the same. And I encourage anybody that's an agency that's listening to this, follow that route too. Make sure you're always changing. Don't get yourself locked in a price point, because everything just gets more expensive. And you should too. Know your value. You know what? Know your value. I'm going to end it with that. So this is Chris signing off for the Admin Podcast. Thank you for listening. Stay real, be real. Like, share, follow. We'd love to have you on for the ride. Thanks for listening. Bye.